Sarah never believed in checking her phone during work hours. As a professional babysitter, she prided herself on being completely present for the children. But on that October evening, when little Emma wouldn't stop crying about the man in the walls, Sarah wished she had broken her rule. Because when she finally picked up her phone at 11:30, she discovered something terrifying. 47 missed calls, all from the very house she was sitting in. The Wellington family had hired Sarah through their usual childcare service. Mrs. Wellington worked as a nurse at the hospital, and Mr. Wellington was a real estate attorney. Their Victorian mansion sat at the end of Maple Grove, surrounded by towering oak trees that cast long shadows across the wraparound porch. During the day, the house was charming, but as darkness fell, it transformed into something more ominous. 8-year-old Emma was typically easy to babysit. Sweet and well-mannered, she usually went to bed without trouble. But tonight felt different from the moment Sarah arrived. Emma seemed anxious, constantly glancing toward the walls with fear in her brown eyes. "Emma, what's bothering you tonight?" Sarah asked, settling beside the little girl in the spacious living room. A fire crackled in the fireplace, casting dancing shadows across the antique furniture. "He's in there again," Emma whispered, pointing toward the wall behind the grand piano. "The man with the sad eyes. He's been watching me for weeks. Sometimes he watches me sleep." Sarah felt a chill, but forced herself to remain calm. "Honey, there's no one in the walls. It's probably just the old house settling. These Victorian houses make strange noises." But Emma shook her head vigorously. "No, Sarah, I really see him. He has gray hair and wrinkled hands. And he's really sad. Sometimes he tries to talk to me, but his voice sounds far away, like he's underwater." Despite her rational mind dismissing it as imagination, Sarah couldn't shake the unsettling feeling creeping up her spine. The house seemed unusually quiet tonight, with an oppressive silence that made every small sound amplified. Outside, the autumn wind howled through the oak trees, causing windows to rattle. After gentle coaxing and 2 bedtime stories, Sarah finally got Emma upstairs and tucked into bed around 9 o'clock. She left the hallway light on and Emma's bedroom door slightly ajar, exactly how the little girl preferred. The bedroom was decorated in soft pinks with stuffed animals and a small nightlight. Returning downstairs, Sarah settled in the leather armchair with her psychology textbook. She was working toward her master's degree and had a paper due next week. But concentration proved difficult. The house seemed alive around her, full of subtle sounds that kept drawing her attention away. The grandfather clock ticked loudly, marking each second. Around 10 o'clock, Sarah heard distinct footsteps moving across the ceiling above. She looked up, listening intently. The sounds were soft but unmistakable, moving slowly from one end of the upstairs hallway to the other. Assuming Emma had gotten up for the bathroom, Sarah waited for the footsteps to return, but they continued pacing back and forth restlessly. Concerned, Sarah quietly climbed the stairs. The hallway was dimly lit by the small nightlight, creating shifting shadows. Emma's door was still slightly open, exactly as Sarah had left it. She peered inside and saw the little girl fast asleep, breathing peacefully under her princess comforter. Confused, Sarah stood listening. The house was completely silent now. She must have imagined the footsteps. Or perhaps it was just the old house settling as shed told Emma. Victorian homes were notorious for creaking as wood expanded and contracted with temperature changes. She returned downstairs and attempted to focus on her studies. But concentration remained scattered. Every creak of floorboards, every whisper of wind seemed to echo through the rooms with unusual intensity. At exactly 10:45, Sarah heard a sound that made her blood run cold. A phone was ringing, but not her cell phone. This was the distinctive, hollow ring of an old landline, echoing through the house with a metallic tone from another era. The Wellingtons had mentioned they kept an old rotary phone in the kitchen for emergencies. Sarah made her way toward the kitchen, following the persistent ringing. The kitchen blended modern renovation with vintage charm, featuring granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. But hanging on the wall was an ancient black rotary phone that looked straight out of the 50s. The phone stopped ringing just as she reached for it. Sarah stared at the silent device, her heart beating faster. Who could be calling at this hour? The Wellingtons were working night shifts and had her cell number for emergencies. They had no reason to call the landline. She was about to return when the phone rang again, its shrill tone cutting through the silence. Sarah quickly picked up the receiver. Hello, Wellington residence. This is Sarah. Complete silence greeted her. Then, very faintly, she heard breathing on the other end. Not heavy or threatening, but soft and measured, almost like a gentle sigh filled with profound sadness. Hello, she repeated, her voice slightly shaky. Is anyone there? The line went dead with a soft click. She hung up, feeling increasingly uneasy. Something about this call felt different. The breathing had sounded so melancholy, filled with deep sadness, that reminded her of Emma's description of the man with sad eyes. Over the next hour, the phone rang 6 more times. Each time, Sarah answered quickly to avoid waking Emma. Each time, the pattern was identical silence, followed by that same heartbreaking breathing. Then the line would go dead. She began noticing the breathing pattern almost sounded like someone desperately trying to speak, but unable to form words. By the 7th call, Sarah decided not to answer. She let it ring until it stopped, then checked for a dial tone. The line worked perfectly. She considered unplugging it, but worried the Wellingtons might need to reach the house. Around midnight, Sarah decided to check on Emma again. She climbed the stairs quietly and peered into the room. Emma appeared to be sleeping peacefully, though somewhat restless, occasionally mumbling soft words. Sarah couldn't make out what she was saying, but Emma's tone sounded like she was having a conversation. As Sarah watched the sleeping child, she heard a new sound that made her freeze in terror. It came from inside the walls, exactly as Emma had described. A soft scratching noise, like fingernails dragging slowly across wood. The sound traveled along the wall behind Emma's bed, moving methodically from one end to the other. Sarah's mind searched for logical explanations. Perhaps mice in the walls, or squirrels in the attic. Old houses harbored small animals seeking warmth. But this scratching was too rhythmic, too purposeful for random animal movement. It sounded like someone tapping out a desperate message, like Morse code scratched into the wooden framework. The scratching stopped abruptly, replaced by something more disturbing. Soft, deliberate knocking came from inside the wall, 3 gentle taps. Pause. 3 more taps. The pattern repeated several times before falling silent. Emma stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She looked directly at the wall and smiled a sleepy, knowing smile. He's trying to tell us something important. She whispered to Sarah. He's been trying to tell someone for a very long time. But nobody listens. Who are you talking about? Sweetheart, Sarah asked, dreading the answer. The man in the walls. He's not scary. Sarah. He's just incredibly sad and lonely. He wants us to know about the phone calls he's been making. He's trying so hard to reach someone who will help. A chill ran through Sarah's body. How could Emma know about the phone calls? She'd been asleep upstairs, and Sarah had been careful to answer quickly. What phone calls? Emma. The ones he's been making to you. Emma said matter-of-factly. He's trying to tell someone what really happened. But nobody believes him. That's why he's so sad. Emma grabbed Sarah's hand with surprising strength. You need to check your phone right now. He's been trying to call you too. But you never answer. He needs you to know the truth. With trembling hands, Sarah pulled out her cell phone. She'd put it on silent hours earlier and hadn't looked at it since arriving. The screen lit up, revealing notification after notification of missed calls. 47 missed calls. All from the same number. A number she recognized because she'd been answering it all evening on the rotary phone downstairs. But that was impossible. The rotary phone was a landline, connected only to the house's telephone service. It couldn't make calls to cell phones, especially not from within the same house. As Sarah stared in disbelief, her phone began ringing again. The caller ID showed the house's landline number. At exactly the same moment, she heard the rotary phone downstairs begin its familiar hollow ringing. Don't answer your cell phone, Emma whispered urgently. Answer the one downstairs. He has something very important to tell you. Something about why he can't leave this house. Against every instinct screaming at her to grab Emma and run, Sarah found herself walking slowly downstairs. The rotary phone continued its persistent, desperate ringing, echoing through the empty rooms like a plea for help ignored for too long. She stood before the old black phone, her hand hovering over the receiver. Her cell phone had stopped ringing, but she could see the missed call notification added to her list. 48 missed calls now. Taking a deep breath, Sarah picked up the receiver. Hello. This time, instead of breathing, she heard something that made her knees weak. A man's voice, distant and hollow, as if speaking from far away or underwater. Exactly as Emma had described. Thank you, the voice whispered with profound gratitude. Thank you for finally listening. I've been trying to reach someone for so very long. Who is this? Sarah managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper. My name is Henry Morrison. I lived in this house 60 years ago. Before the Wellingtons. Before the family that came before them. I need someone to know what really happened to me. Sarah's mind reeled. This isn't real. This can't be happening. I was murdered in this house. The voice continued, growing fainter. By someone I trusted completely. My body was hidden in the walls. Behind the built-in bookshelf in the library. I've been trying to tell someone for 60 years. But nobody believed the children who heard me. Adults always think it's imagination. The voice paused, and Sarah could hear that same sad breathing from earlier. My killer told everyone I had run away. That I abandoned my wife and children. My family spent 60 years thinking I didn't love them enough to stay. My grandchildren grew up believing their grandfather was a coward who deserted them. I need them to know the truth. I need them to know I never would have left them willingly. The voice was fading. Look behind the built-in bookshelf in the library. Third panel from the left. Near the floor. There's a loose board. My wallet is still in my jacket pocket with a picture of my family. Please, help me give them peace. Help me give them the truth. The line went dead, leaving Sarah in the silent kitchen with the receiver in her shaking hand. She hung up and pulled out her cell phone. 49 missed calls. All from the same impossible number. All from inside the house where she stood. Sarah stared at her phone. Then toward the hallway leading to the library. Knowing her next decision would change everything for both the living and the dead.